So today, guys, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 tips for a more cinematic shot. My name is Sammy Joe, and you're welcome to Creative Warehouse. I'll be right back. I'll just go ahead and share with you 3 tips for a more cinematic shot. It doesn't mean that it is just the 3 tips that I'm sharing with you that will make your video or your shot look cinematic. No. What it means is, amongst other things, because there are lots of things you could apply to your shot to make it look good and feel good, right? But these are just my 3 tips, in no particular order, that I feel when you begin to practice it and you add it to your videos, it begins to make it look different and it begins to make it look attractive. Number 1 is do not blow out your highlights. I have seen a lot of videographers and cinematographers falling victim to this particular thing. You're trying to get a shot, probably the image or the person is dark, a bit dark because it's in a shadow. You feel by cranking up your ISO or aperture that you get a good image. And a lot of times you begin to lose details on the highlights. The brightest areas are the highlights. If you blow out your highlights, you lose your details and you will never be able to recover it in post. Your videos will begin to look crappy the moment you start to overexpose your highlights. People shoot outside and there is no detail in the cloud. Why? Because they've overexposed for their image. So what is the tip? When you're shooting, expose for the highlights. First, get the bright areas right. The brightest parts, make sure you get it right. So the dark areas, then you'll be able to fill them up. There are a couple of things you could use to fill your dark areas, like bounce boards, reflectors, or even lights. It makes your video look professional. Guess what, guys? Just a little detail in the cloud changes the face of your video. Shoot a video with a white sky, without a cloud or the sky details at all, and get another shot with the blue sky and the white clouds in it. Trust me, there will be a whole lot of difference. Very little, but it works wonders. Tip number 2, use a stabilizer. Using a stabilizer means making sure your videos are not shaky, right? You could use a tripod or a gimbal, or you could even use your hand, but it had better be stable. Shaky videos are bad. Like, nobody wants to watch a shaky video. Nobody wants to see that. That's one of the quickest way to know an amateur, when the videos are shaky. You can only use shaky videos when it comes from a creative perspective. You're trying to create maybe chaos, or someone is running. Something that has to be explained, really. Else, shaky videos are bad. They are irritating to the viewers. Nobody loves shaky videos. So as much as possible, get a tripod or a monopod or a gimbal. If you're using your hand, you have to be rock steady. Tip number 3 is camera movement. And I've talked about camera movement in one of my past episodes, but it's so important that I'm reiterating it again, guys. Like I said, camera movement does so much, not only to your film's aesthetic, but it increases the quality of your storytelling. When you tell a story with a camera movement, no matter how little it is, it sort of feels different. Like, here is an example. This shot is without camera movement. This one here with camera movement. Without camera movement. With camera movement. You see, guys, it makes a whole lot of difference. It sort of just feels good, right? When you apply a little movement to these things, it doesn't mean it should be overused. It doesn't mean it should be abused. So you need to also creatively know when it's necessary. People tend to think that achieving a good camera movement means you need those very expensive equipment, to do all of those things. Not necessarily. You could actually use your hand to create a certain level of camera movement. And I'll do a video about this where I'll go in depth in explaining to you and showing you how you can create some very subtle movements with your hands. I've done a ton and it came out beautiful. No gimbal, no track and dolly, nothing, just my hand. I'm going to be showing you that in a separate video. So that's about the size of today's episode on Creative Warehouse. 3 tips for a better and a more cinematic shot. I'm sure you caught a thing or two because it's very helpful. When you start applying it into your videos, you start seeing, a lot of difference. Thank you for joining us. I hope to bring more videos your way next week. My name is Sammy Joe. I remain your host. Bye for now.